Hello beautiful people, welcome back or welcome to another Bangs audio review. Today I have the Meze Alba. Yes, awesome. So I know some of you have been waiting for another person to weigh in on this set. It has gotten some positive reviews, I guess, and some maybe middle of the road kind of reviews. So I know where I fall on it. It took me a while to get there, so it's probably worth going into why and how I ended up with the opinion that I have of these. And I'm not afraid to tell you right at the beginning that it ended up being quite positive. But it didn't start that way, so I will let you in on the process for this one, because it took a little extra. It took a little extra doing, and that's okay. Because eventually I got there, and if I hadn't gotten there, I would have felt really bad about accepting this set, which was sent to me by Razvan and Meze Audio for review. It was my understanding that this was going to be a tour, and that I would be wrapping this up and sending it along to another reviewer. But I was wrong. It's mine for keeps. So yes, they gave me a set, which is just really nice and generous of them. That being said, as I've indicated already, I'm going to tell you about the journey that it took to get to where I got to with these, and it was not entirely a positive journey. So anyway, there we go. All thoughts and opinions are my own, is what I'm trying to say, obviously. So start with the unbox. The package came just like this, shrink wrapped, so it was, plastic. This part right here, this particular accessory, is part of the reason I ended up with a very positive opinion of this set. Just the fact that they include it. And now we're in, I think, what, iPhone 16 is out this, probably already out, or if it's not, it's out in a second. So that's, two versions or two iterations of the iPhone now that have the USB-C, universal, I guess we're going to call that now, universal port. And 3.5 on this side, so you've got a built-in, not a built-in, but you have an included dongle, which has a very nice little DAC in there as well, from what I can tell. So there you go. That saves you at least 20. I mean, I know you can get them super cheap, and I know you can get them kind of like ridiculously expensive for this. Like, I think anything over like $50 for that is kind of ridiculous. Let's split the difference and call it like a $20 to $25 accessory, because it's very nicely made. You can tell the cable is nice, and the finishes and the terminations. So little Meze loot on there as well, which is cool. I believe that's a loot. If I'm mistaken, you can correct me in the comments, but I do believe this is like a liar or a loot. It might be a liar. I don't know. Anyway, I'm not lying. Could be a liar. So that came in that. Inside the main box is excuse me, user manual, everything. This is like the 5th time I've done this. The IEMs came with these like little protectors on them, which is pretty cool. I put it back on but to show you what it was, but it went like over the nozzle, and then it was held on by an ear tip. So cool stuff. Cable management, should you need that, and then a set of cat hair, a set of tips that I feel I couldn't use. So I'm not going to say that they're great or bad. Small, medium, and large in this white silicone, wide-ish bore design. I just couldn't use it. The medium was too small for my right ear, and the large was like too big for it, and then the left ear, the large, was kind of too big for that. So anyway, I ended up using my own ear tips, but then again, I always do that anyway, so not a big deal for me. A little silica there. I'll keep that in the case. The case is tiny, but let me tell you why that's not a bad thing, because this is so pocketable. Like, it's great. Move these guys over here. AO300 soon, great, by the way, as is the new sub. Although, if I had to do it over again in a different scenario, or maybe even in this scenario, I would probably have gone with a 10-inch subwoofer instead of an 8, or even a 12, because those are 8. Those guys right there. I mean, I think they are. They sure look like it. So, although it does change the sound field, sorry, tangent. Even though it changes the sound field, it grounds it more, and you definitely get more, tactile sensation from having the subwoofer. That subwoofer is meant to go with smaller, like desktop speakers, like bookshelf speakers, like probably 5.5s or 6s at the most. So, side story there. But it sounds great, and it handles double bass really well, and that's why I got it. So I'm set. No need to change for me. On the case demonstration, because you guys should see that it does actually, everything fits, including the dongle DAC. Second nitpick here. What was the first one? Oh yeah, the tips. That's whatever. I don't care so much about that. The cable is tangly. In fact, it wasn't this tangly until I started shooting this video, so apologies for that. But yeah, definitely on the tangly side. Not a particular. Look at that. I got like a figure 8 knot in there. Not my favorite cable. Is it like VX Pro bad? No, it's not that bad. Is it probably better than a standard like KZ or CCA? I would say for sure. If nothing else, on the inside. The outside is, as you can see, it's a pretty basic cable, right? It's fine. I ended up testing with it for the most part because I wanted to use this guy. So it sounded fine. Sonics were not an issue, and I did have a couple of different cables on there just for fun, just for funsies. So yeah, it performed just fine. Just fine. Don't need 4.4 to drive them. Unless you're me and you just have to have everything at 4.4. So I did that for a while too. But yes, you can fit everything in here because it does have a little bit of depth to it, even though it's not very big in circumference, whatever that means for an oval. Yeah, you're not going to get anything else in there. I struggled to get the lecture cable that spent some time on them. It still did fit, but it was a much tighter squeeze, and I don't think I tried to put the dongle in when I was putting that particular cable in there. So for a reason, right? The cable is slender, petite, whatever you want to call it. It's a light cable, but part of that is, the functionality. You're going to be able to fit it in this tiny little case. How small is this case? This is one of the comps, Moondrop Kato. The Kato case is small. The the Alba case is smaller. That said, it is seems to be leather, leather and felt, and has a nice feel to it, and is definitely very easily pocketable. So, Chris, so how'd it go with the Sonics, buddy? How'd it go? Well, let me tell you. Okay, so my initial impression of this was, wow, that's $150, $160 to be honest, and it doesn't present. And again, this is unboxing side because I don't really give a shit about unboxing so much. It's fun when they're intricate and nice, but I don't care about it. What I care about are the earphones. Initially going into it though, I was not super impressed. I was not impressed with accessories wise. I was not impressed with the cable. I was not impressed with the ear tips. And the case gave me pause at the start because I was afraid I wouldn't be able to fit everything in there, or it would just be squished. But the case is nice, all right? Still, I'm looking at this, and these are TRNT ear tips, by the way. They're one of the 3 that I really liked on it. I'm like, okay, this better be really good. Like, the IMs themselves better be really, really good. And I'm not going to tell you. No, I'm going to tell you as soon as I do the specs. We have a 10.8 millimeter dynamic driver. We have at the beginning, okay, because things did change, that this was not going to be a go-to set for me for metal. That it just seemed to be a little too crowded in the upper mids, not enough separation, and that the treble was a little bit too splashy is not the right word. Plus, I would be stealing that from somebody else. But yeah, I don't really know, like a hissy fizzy zizzy, you know, kind of like thing, and not, you know, not like fuzzy, still somewhat clear and concise and detailed. It's got really nice details, like running from the mids all the way through the upper treble. Like it's a pretty technically sound set in that respect. But there was something about the treble that I was just kind of like, wasn't jibing with it on day one. So I decided to put it on pink noise for 10 hours, which I did. So I set that, I let that play through the night, picked the set back up in the morning, didn't listen to anything else. Again, you know, processes, I don't watch other people's reviews of a set I'm going to review. I don't look at graphs until I graph it myself, and I only do the graph after I've listened to it for a day, hopefully. Sometimes it's only a half a day. I get a little impatient. Me? No. So that's, you know, the general process. By the time I got to graphing this, it was starting to behave like the graph indicates. What it was doing before that, I don't know exactly. But I can tell you that it kind of made me take a pause and go, wow, really? You know, like, that's it? Like, this is what it's going to be? And it was disappointing, you know. I didn't know at that point, not that it should change anything, but I didn't know at that point that the set was being given to me, you know, for keepers. I was figuring I was going to be reviewing it and sending it along, and I almost like started to look at other people's reviews. Like, I started reading the headphones.com review, and then I stopped. I was like, no, don't give up, dude. Don't give up. You can do it. You can do it. You're going to find what it likes to do, and then you're going to describe that to people and just be like, hey, you know, it's going to be okay for this and this, but it's not going to be okay for that and that. And to an extent, that's where we still are. You know, to an extent, a lesser extent, much lesser extent than it was 2 days ago, I still do feel like the strength of this set is going to be more for rock, pop, hip-hop, K-pop, more of your middle-of-the-road kind of stuff than it would be for real heavy metal or, like, really intense, like, orchestral classical music. Those genres would maybe be my least recommended for how the set performs, but it expanded. It expanded that genre as I listened to it more. It got bigger. I was like, oh, well, this sounds good on it. Oh, well, this sounds good on it. Okay, sounds good on it. Oh, wow. Okay, so it can handle Lamb of God. Okay, I didn't think it was going to do that. And in Trebko doesn't sound unnatural. She sounds good. She's a little thinner than normal, but she still sounds really clear and natural. So it expanded, and the best thing I can really think of is that I do believe that I experienced a little bit of break-in with this set, and some of you are going to stop the video now, and we'll see you for the next one. Sorry. But I did, and I don't have a problem with people that believe it or don't believe it. I don't, because it's what your experience is, how you experience it. Most of this stuff doesn't show up on a frequency response graph, but then again, that's just one measurement, one type of measurement, in a very raw sense. You know, it doesn't take a lot of stuff into account. But I did feel like that this set over time, especially today on day 3, from the time that I started listening to or stopped listening to it last night, started listening to it this morning for a couple 3 hours, the rest of the house got up, came back to it after I got the kiddo off to school, and I was just like, oh, okay, you know, kind of like a whew, thank God, you know, like it was going to be tough, you know, it was going to be tough for me to be like really excited to recommend this set. And I'm not going to say that this is an all-around set that everybody should own. It's great for any circumstance. It's just, you know, what I will say is that if you are a fan of mids and upper mids and treble, you're going to like this for its clarity and detail in those frequencies. If you like a little heavier hitting bass, more towards the sub bass than the mid bass, but if you like a little bit heavier bass than, let's say, the last couple of planars or even the Titan S2 provides, this has some pretty serious weight to the mid bass and to the sub bass. Sub bass a little tiny rolled off, but more sub bass in the last few sets that I've reviewed. Definitely more presence, more rumble, more tactile. $160. I can see why it is $160 because it's Meze, and Meze is in Romania, and Meze is, like, it makes its own, I guess, everything. Has great engineers and has really nice salespeople as well. Razvan, I'm talking to you. So I think that I didn't get into the build, but the build is awesome. The build almost feels like it's porcelain, but it's definitely metal and it definitely weighs. Not uncomfortably so. And the shells are also not just the fact that they're finished so well, they're tiny. So, this is going to fit everybody, even people with smaller everything, smaller ear canals, smaller ears, smaller inner, outer, inner, whatever ear, biology, whatever, morphology you want to talk about. It's going to fit you. And it feels good. It feels expensive. It's the dumbest thing ever. But it does. It doesn't feel cheap, Do I wish the cable was a little bit more substantial? Yeah, I do, but that's me. The finishes are gorgeous. The feel is wonderful. The comfort level is insane. This is I think somebody mentioned in the comments about side sleeping. Yeah, you can sleep standing on with your head in a fish tank, and these will be comfortable. You'll drown, but these will be comfortable while you're drowning. Yeah. So, I feel like that this would be. It's a good second or third IEM. It's kind of an anti-Harman a little bit, even though the curve does look Harman-ish. The mids are elevated to the point where I feel like it's going to impress some people. And maybe some people won't like the mids being as prominent as they are in it. But once my brain burned in, and it did burn in a little bit, for sure. And these, I think, broke in a little bit. I'm just going to say, I think they did. It's a dynamic driver. Sure, it's only 10.8 millimeters, but, 40 and 50 millimeter diaphragms, drivers break in. It's not like it doesn't happen. So I feel like these broke in. And I'll tell you the other reason why, as we're almost out of time. The other reason why is, as I quickly comp, because I was listening to the Kato, the Moondrop Kato, and I was listening to the Hakujai Anunnaki while I was testing these for comparison purposes. And these guys, the Kato and the Anunnaki, stayed the same, and the Alba changed. So you tell me, from day 1 to day 3, there was a market improvement in everything. Whether it's, bass response, treble, definition, soundstage, it happened. So that's what I'm sticking with right now. I'm not saying it happens to every single set. I'm sure it doesn't. Probably doesn't happen at all for planars or BAs. Maybe planars, maybe not. Probably not at all in BAs or ESTs or whatever, but it's a dynamic driver. You're going to tell me that driver doesn't break in at all? Well, might have an argument. A disagreement. Just so you see it before we go, and you won't see the colors because they never come through, but the one with the peakiest ear gain is the Anunnaki. The one with the lowest ear gain is the Alba, and the one in the center here is the Kato. Overall, the Alba had more mids than the other two. Obviously, been saying that. Even though the Kato looks like it would, it doesn't. And overall, the most balanced signature came from the Alba between those 3 sets. Just because it had more bass, mid bass and sub bass, to balance out the treble, which was not as high as either the Kato or the Anunnaki. So that's where we're going to leave it. I recommend this set. I recommend it if you want something that sounds a little different, if you already have sets in your possession, if you have the ability to swap that cable out, you probably are going to want to do that. But it does come with the dongle, so I think that adds a nice amount of value to it, which is why I don't think that 160 is unreasonable for an asking price. I don't think you'll find it on AliExpress, but if I find it there, I'll link it. Otherwise, I will link Amazon and the Meze official website for you. That's going to do it for today, folks. Be careful, be safe, be nice. Love y'all. Nothing but peace to you, and we'll see you.